Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. So glad you're here. What do we got going on in the markets? What we have going on is a lot of volatility, right? Up 500, down 500, up 500. Their volatility has come back to the marketplace, and that's great for traders, right? Investors, it makes them not sleep so well at night. So we got the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ, right? Broke below the 20-day, broke below the 50-day, and now we're going to get a little bit of a bounce. Okay, so we've come down, and then we're going to head up. We're going to make a lower high, and then we'll come back down and make a lower low. This is my take, right? Now, the S&P, it did finally break below the 20-day. Only the second time it's done that since last October, right? And it came all the way down to the 50-day and then started bouncing from the 50-day. Now, we'll see if we can break through that 50-day to the downside. I don't think we will right now. I think it'll take some time before we break through that. I think they will push this market up higher. They're going to print more money, and they're going to try to get the market to go up. Now, the reason I know that is because I look at the HYG. The HYG is junk bonds. I mean, people, this has bonds that they pay a little bit more interest, but these bonds will never be paid back because they're basically junk, corporations that can't pay them back. Well, this is not going down. This is actually staying up. Who's buying the junk bonds? One guess. Federal Reserve. Okay, just my take, right? But that's why the market, they're going to push it back up higher. The SPY will go back up, maybe make a new high, or at least get close to that before it comes back down and makes another attempt on the 50-day. I don't think we'll get through the 50-day moving average at this time. All right, so we got good news today, right? The GDP number came out. Okay, so the GDP blew away estimates, right? That means the economy is booming. Americans are thriving. Everybody has enough money, right? I mean, these are great times. That's what the mainstream media wants you to believe. That's what the Biden administration's telling us, that everything's great, that these are the greatest of times. Why are people so upset? Well, it's kind of fascinating to me. Okay, credit card delinquency rates are at a 12-year high, right? 12-year high. People are falling behind. They can't make their credit card payment, right? So they have to carry balances on their credit cards. What rate is that at? I don't know, 20, 25, 30%, right? So they're carrying these balances because they have no money. They can't make their payment. Now, what else is interesting to me? Well, repossessions of cars, car repos, right? I mean, people aren't making their car payment. 8 out of every 100 cars on the road, I mean, they're behind on their payment. 8% delinquency rate. That's really sad. That's why we got like 10,000 repos a day. People are losing their cars, right? Why? Because they have no money. Not because the economy is thriving, because they have no money. They can't make their car payments. So you got credit cards, can't pay them. You got cars, they can't pay them. Now, now this is fascinating. We got to talk about this. I mean, okay, so student loans, right? They keep getting forgiven. Why don't we just forgive the car payments? Why don't we just forgive the credit card payments? Why pay your bills at all? And young people, they start to think like this, right? They look at our government. Our government doesn't pay their bills. Why should you pay your bills? Well, but Mike, the government, they can print money and pay their bills. Well, why don't they print a little bit extra and let's pay your bills, right? I mean, okay, what are credit cards? 1.5 trillion, right? Okay, what are car loans? I don't know, 1.5 trillion. So 3 trillion for credit cards and car loans. $3 trillion. You know the government prints that? Well, every year prints at least that we don't have. Why don't we just print an extra 3 trillion, wipe out everybody's debts, debt jubilee, right? This is how young people are starting to think. Why? Because this is the example that our government sets. Well, when I was young, our government used to pay its bills, right? We used to balance the budget. We haven't had a balanced budget. I think you got to go back to Clinton is the last time we've actually had a balanced budget. I mean, all these people should be fired, kick them out of office. this. Don't let them in. They're spending our money that we don't have. They're ruining our country, and it's causing inflation to go up. Speaking of inflation, just announced, postage stamp, right? Going up from 68 cents to 73 cents. Now, this is a government. They're raising their rate from 68 to 73, but yet they tell you there's no inflation. Well, why are they raising the postage stamp? And they don't do it just once a year. Now they do it twice a year. They raise this twice a year. Why? Because inflation's running out of control. This is their own metrics. This is the U.S. Post Office raising postage stamps, telling you that inflation is far from dead, right? I mean, okay, so I get these comments all the time, right? I get these comments, okay. But Mike, inflation's going up, and that means house prices are going up. Not necessarily. Look, at houses are a dead asset. What do people buy it with? They buy it with a mortgage, right? They got to get a mortgage to buy the house. Now, when inflation takes off 10, 15, 20%, which it will, because we're going to keep doing what? We're going to keep printing money. So what happens, right? What happens to mortgage rates? They go up, right? But Mike, they're going to cut rates, and then houses are going to go to the moon. I don't see it that way. I know a lot of you see it that way. Look, at when they raised rates, did houses go up or down? Well, they should have gone down, but they actually went up, right? So the fact that they're lowering rates, does that mean houses are going to go up or down? Well, just in logic would tell you that they're going to go up. But I'm telling you, this is counterintuitive. They're going to lower rates. And why are they going to lower rates? They're going to lower rates because every business is going to go out of business that has debt. You see, corporation debt is at a record high, and they can't refinance their debt. If they can't refinance their debt, they can afford 0%. They can't afford this 5% rate, right? So they can't refinance their debt. They go out of business. What happens? Job losses happen. Job losses. Okay, so what happened? Okay, you could go back to the days. This goes back to when Boeing, they make the big aircrafts up in Seattle. I mean, this was fascinating. This goes back to the 1980s, but Boeing was in a lot of trouble. They almost went out of business, but the government came in, helped them out, right? And Boeing survived. Okay, and they're thriving now. But okay, they got some problems. That doors keep falling off their airplanes. I don't know. But okay, so Boeing almost went out of business back in the 80s. Well, what happened to house prices in Seattle? Do you know that you could buy a house? Well, I mean, below the cost to build it, right? Below the cost to build the house. Okay, so let's say it cost you, let's say it was a $100,000 house, right? 1,000 square feet costs you, I don't know, whatever, $100 a square foot to build it. So to build the house would cost $100,000, right? But those houses were selling for $60,000. But you couldn't build the house for $60,000. Cost you $100,000 to build that house. So how did you appraise this? Did you place a negative value on the land of $40,000? Actually, as an appraisal class, that's exactly what I did. I said the land value has a negative $40,000 because it cost $100,000 to build the house. You see, you can't, just because inflation's going up and all the things that it takes to build that house that go into the house are getting more and more expensive, you can find a time in history, and it's going to happen again, where houses were selling almost 40% below the cost of building the house. So the fact that we have inflation does not mean that houses are going to go up. I'm telling you, it actually means they're going to come down. And now you're going to get inflation. I agree with that. Food, gas, everything you buy, everything you need to survive, right? And houses are going to come down. Why? Because people can't afford the house, can't afford the utility bills, can't afford the HOA fees, can't afford the property taxes, can't afford the maintenance costs. They're going to dump the houses on the market. There's not going to be any buyers. Why? Because nobody's going to have any money, right? Nobody has money now, right? You got the credit card delinquency running at record highs. You got the repos of cars running at record highs, right? And first it goes credit card, then it goes cars. Then come the mortgages. See, people hold on to their house. They want to have a place to live. They want to make that mortgage payment if they can, right? But there's a problem today. The problem is we got this liquidity crisis. The problem is we got debt crisis. Now, you may have debt, but our government, they got big debt. Now, I was listening to this economist the other day. Very funny stuff. He's telling you that 35 trillion's nothing. Now, the debt doubles, about every 7 years, let's call it. Okay, so 7 years from now, we'll be at $7 70 trillion. And he says that's not a problem. Not a problem at all. I mean, this guy, I don't know. He went to that different economic school that I did. He went to that modern monetary theory school where you can print your way to prosperity, where you can print a little extra money and pay off everybody's student loans, print a little extra and pay off everybody's credit card, print a little extra, pay off their car payments, print a lot extra, pay off all the mortgages. Why not? Why not pay off everybody's mortgage? Would that be a bad thing? Everybody'd be out of debt, right? Wouldn't that be good? That'd be really good. Should we do that? That's what they're talking about. I mean, this socialism stuff, it's starting to get to me. You see, I'm a capitalist guy, and we do not have capitalism. Now, a lot of people blame what we have. They're blaming it on capitalism. They say that capitalism is destroying the country. You get to capitalism, then you will solve 90% of all the problems we have. But we've got away from real money. We've got away from sound money. We got into this fake money that you just digits on the screen. They can type in $1 trillion today if they want. They could type in 10 trillion. They could type in 100 trillion. They could buy everybody a house, right? Because the money's not real. Get some real money. Get some gold and silver. On sale right now. I had a down day. On sale. I'm headed to my coin shop right after this. Okay, so gold and silver is real money, but what we got is a battle of, it's called Keynesian economics. It's where the Federal Reserve thinks they can solve everything. They think they can save everybody. They think we can print money and give that debt jubilee, pay off those student loans, pay off those credit cards, pay off those car payments. See, that's Keynesian economics. It's socialism. It doesn't work. It's not going to work in the long run. We got to get back to Austrian economics. Austrian economics, real money, where you have real capitalism, where there's price discovery. Right now, nobody can discover prices, right? We don't know what a house would sell. Just sold one for almost $3 million, 1,200 square foot, track home on 6,000 square foot lot. Do you think that should go for $3 million? I'm telling you, that's what it went for, but it's not worth $3 million. Why'd it go that high, Tall Mike? Tell me. Well, because there's no price discovery. Nobody knows what these things are supposed to be selling for because there's too much Keynesian economics. See, the Keynesians, they come in and they buy $3 trillion worth of mortgages. That's going to hold up the housing market, right? Well, they're right. It's going to help the housing market. You could let's buy 6 trillion. If 3 trillion was good, let's buy 6 trillion. Oh, heck, let's go 9 trillion. You see, you can prop things up for a while, but then it all comes tumbling down. Socialism doesn't work. Just flat out doesn't work. You got to get back to capitalism. Got to get back to sound money. Got to get back to Austrian economics. That works. That will solve 90% of the problems we have in the U.S. And believe me, we got some big problems. I mean, 35 trillion in debt going to 70 trillion. But that's not the biggest problem. Big problems are those unfunded liabilities. Just Medicare and Social Security. You got to tack on another 130 trillion. So you're at $200 trillion. I mean, 200 trillion. Where's this money come from? We bring in about 4 trillion in taxes, right? Okay, so let's see. We got 200 trillion in unfunded, and you got the debt. So bring in 4 trillion. Man, that's going to take a long time to pay off. If every dollar just went to pay off the debt, I mean, we'd be over 50 years. Well, they're going to have 50-year mortgages on houses, maybe 100-year mortgages. Anything to keep the housing market propped up. They can't let that come down. Too much revenue comes from us, 1/3 of the GDP, and those GDP numbers just went off the chart. You see, they got to keep it propped up. Where does the city get their money from? Get their money from property taxes. They want to tax you, and the higher houses go, the more they can tax you. See, this is a problem. This is a problem. People can't afford to live right now. They can't afford to buy a house right now. You have to be really rich to buy a house. Only rich people can buy the house right now. See, people don't get it, but our financial system, it's not going to make it. I'm telling you. I'm giving you the news right here. I'll break the news to you. The dollar is going away. It's going to buy zero. Going to lose all purchasing power. Every fiat currency does. Yeah, so it's not any surprise here. I mean, this happens. We've outstayed our welcome. The average fiat currency lasts 36 years. And we went fiat back in 71, right? I mean, that's 50 years ago. So we've extended it, because we do have the reserve currency, because we do have the most weapons, because we do have the most nuclear bombs. Look, we can say, hey, you're going to take our dollar, we're going to blow you up. And that's what keeps it going, right? Now, maybe it can keep it going forever, but I'm betting against it, right? I'm getting out of the system. I'm getting into the coin of the realm. I'm buying gold. I'm buying silver. I'm buying sound money. That's just what I'm doing. You do you. I'll do me. We'll see how it all works out. I'm Tom Mike. You like this stuff? Give me the thumbs up. But first, before you leave, punch that subscribe button, then get out there. It's the weekend, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll talk again next week. Bye-bye now.